Friends, hi, Doc South here, and gee, I don't know. I don't know. I thought I'd get this story out. It's not a Millie's itinerary. It's something else I noticed the other day, and for my work, I travel. Oh gosh, probably I think it's about 25 miles to the supermarket I work at up in Northwest New Jersey, and naturally, I'm always interested in finding the cheapest gasoline I can find. Trust me, the high test ain't going to cut it at some of the prices it can be, and so I've always kept my eyes open for cheaper than normal gas. Most mechanics tell me gas is gas, and, so if you see it cheap, get it. Unless you want to get the high test stuff, but frankly, you gotta be daddy warbucks to buy that. So I keep my eyes open, and again, I don't make a king's ransom at all. In fact, far from it. So I noticed this one place, and for years now, I've been stopping there. It's actually the place. At first glance, you say, gee, maybe they're closed or something. I don't know. They just, I think they used to do mechanics work there. They probably had a little snack bar in the office of the place, but now basically they got one of those little like what do you call it? Sort of like a little shelter between the gas pumps where the guy sits, and they can handle I think up to four cars at once. I don't even know the brand. I wouldn't want to say anyway, but nice place. Across the street, there's a fancier gas station, with food and all that. All that coffee. Crullers, whatever, veal cordon bleu. Now that I think about it, I've never had veal cordon bleu. Never. I've had veal and peppers, not bad. But, yeah, but anyway, cordon bleu, man, I got to put that on my list. It might be good, and I've been missing out. In any case, but anyway, that's across the street. But there's this one place, just kind of a beat up looking old building. I'm assuming built probably in the 50s or so. So it's getting up there in age. And I would pull in and get my gas there. $10 worth, pay cash. It was even cheaper if you paid cash. And the guy had come out of the lean-to. Not the lean-to, but the little shelter. Well, it almost was a lean-to. It was leaning off to one side, if I recall right. Dirty windows and grimy, and which is fine. I got no problem with grimy if the gas is cheap, and the guy always big, tall, skinny guy, kind of come over and say, "Well, how you doing today?" I said, "Well, fine." I said, "I guess I'll have $10 a regular." Okay, $10, and of course, no thought of washing the windows and all that baloney, checking the tires. Just, you want gas? Good, we got it. There you go. And I'd get my $10. It'd be 4 gallons or so, and off I'd go. I'd have enough to go to work twice. Go to work and come back twice. Yeah, 2 trips, 2 round trips. And I know I'd get there sometimes at 5 in the morning. You never know with supermarkets. Your day might start at 5. It might start at 5 in the morning or 5 in the afternoon. Heaven knows. The schedule changes. And I know sometimes real early in the morning, I'd get there and the guy'd be on the phone. You could hear him in his shelter. He had like a little radio going, and he had a phone. I think he had a bit of a computer. Not much. It was a pretty much all oil stained and stuff. Yeah. Cigarette burns on it. And but he'd be talking to his boss, and he'd say, "Yeah," he says, "they're up, across the street. They're up to 255, 255 a gallon." And the guy'd say, "Well," and he'd say, "Okay, good. Well, make ours 252, right? 252 it is. Yeah, good. We'll beat them." And that's what he lived for, was to beat the high-priced place across the street. Not that they were that high-priced, but he'd sit there, he'd be smoking a cigarette, drinking his coffee, munching on a bagel, and he says, "Man, he comes out to me, he says, 'You're lucky, I'm going to raise the price just a little, because they raised across the street.'" And I said, "Well, okay." Or if he was coming down in price, he'd say, "Why don't you wait a minute? If you got a minute or two?" I said, "Yeah, sure, I do." He says, "Good. I'm going to lower the price. You'll get we're going down a nickel. What do you think?" I said, "Well, that's great. Sure." Of course, I'm sitting there thinking, for all that, I'm saving 20 cents, but that's all right. I'm saving 20 cents. And the thing is the guy lived for it. He loved competing with the people across the street, and he was always cheaper, always cheaper. And I'd get to talking to him, if there weren't 4 or 5 cars there. I'd say, "So what, you do this? This is what you do?" And he says, "Yeah." Yeah, he said, "I like it." I said, "Well, cool." He says, "Yeah, sometimes I get, God," he says, "sometimes I get," how'd he put it? Oh, man. He said, "I make sometimes 1,000 a week." I said, "You do?" He said, "Well, yeah, if no one comes in," he said, "I offer to stay, and he said, I do all right." I said, "Yeah, but 5 in the morning till what, about 9 at night?" He says, "Time passes. I got work to do. Yeah, I got work to do. I got the radio. What more do I want? If I want, I got my computer, although I don't quite know how to work it, but so, I can look at a thing or two." But mostly there's people coming in, and people come by. He'd be talking a little, and sometimes one time I think he gave me too much gas. He didn't hear me quite right. And I said, "Well, here's the other $5." "No," he said, "That, my mistake." Yeah, stuff like, or he'd say, "Hey, do you got any singles?" And well, sure, I had singles in my soldier jar, for Operation Uplink. And I'd say, "Yeah, I'll trade you 10 for 10 singles." She said, "Good." And I'd count out 10. I'd say, "Here you go. You might want to count them." "Nope, I trust you." "Okay, well, there you go." And it was basically you'd see him, like I said, 5 in the morning, talking with the boss. Maybe if he came in at 9 o'clock, he'd be munching on a bagel, knocking down a coffee, and he was just, I don't know, just one of those. He lived to pump gas. Excuse me. And the other, oh gee, it was about 4 or 5 months ago. I come in, and he wasn't. Well, I pull into the spot, and the place is, no one's there. I said, "My God, this isn't like him. It's 6 in the morning." I'm looking around, and I said, "Well, gosh, I don't know." I made sure he was okay. I heard that there was no, that he wasn't laying there in a heap somewhere. Sometimes he'd be out, along the signs, making the signs, putting up different prices and grinning about it. And but no, he was just, no one was there, no cars, nothing. So I'd just head off. I think I had to go to the expensive place and paid an extra 2 cents, and about killed me. And I know, 10 cents, right? And and then for a few days it was like that, and finally there's a help wanted sign up on the place, and I'm thinking, my God, I wonder what's up. And finally there's all of a sudden one day I pull by and there's a kid, and he says he's running the place now. And I look, and I said, "So where's that fella used to be here?" He says, "Well," he says, "he had a heart attack." I said, "My God, a heart attack?" I said, "Well, he was always smoking a lot." "Yeah," he said, "he smoked like a chimney." And but other than that, gee, certainly wasn't heavy or anything. "Is he okay?" And the kid said, "Yeah, he's going to be all right, but he had a heart attack. He's got to take it easy for a bit." I said, "Well, I'll be doggone." Well, I said, "Do you ever run into him?" He says, "Yeah, sometimes he stops by, checks, make sure we're selling the gas cheap enough." I said, "Well, tell him I said hi. The guy in the rotten old van works at the supermarket. He'll know who you mean. Tell him." He said, "Yeah, okay, I'll tell him. I'll be sure to." It was a nice kid. Kid, I think someday he'll make something of himself and do all right. And and so I don't know, I kept shopping there. Their gas was still cheap. I think it was a slightly different company. And finally, gee, just yesterday I pull in, and I thought, I'm going to see. I'm going to see how that fella's doing, the skinny fella, the old timer. And I said, "So hey," I said, "It was about 4 months ago. The fella used to work here, a tall, thin guy." He said, "Yeah, I know who you mean." I said, he had a heart attack, and I was just wondering how he's doing. And the kid said, well, he said, I'm sorry to tell you, but he passed away. I said, what? He did? He says, yeah, it turns out he had cancer too. He had cancer in about 3 spots, and he's gone. He died not too long ago, a week or two ago. I said, oh my gosh. Oh, God. I said, that's awful. He says, yeah. He said, I know who you mean. He was a nice enough guy. He was a pretty decent fella. Sure loved pumping gas. I said, well, gosh, do you ever see his family or anything? He said, Mister, I don't know. He said, I don't know if he had a family. I'm just not sure. And I said, gosh, oh, that's awful. Well, okay. I'll say a prayer for him, and I guess just have to go on, huh? He says, yeah, yeah. Nice guy, though. And, I can almost see him now up in heaven. He's probably pumping gas there. I think it's what he liked to do, meeting the people. And hopefully St. Peter's put him right next to maybe a gas station that's charging too darn much. And this fellow's going to spend eternity fighting with him over the price of gas. Huh? I hope so. That, or maybe he finally said, you know what, I'm going to sell gas expensive. live the high life. Make another quarter an hour. I don't know. He was just a good, simple, pleasant person. And you know what I liked about him? Was he, after you pumped the gas, you gave him the money, put the cap, he always put the cap on right, too. So you didn't get the check your fuel tanks sign on the indicator on your dashboard. He always did it right. Never goofed. He's an expert at pumping gas. But the one thing I really liked was that after that little bit of small talk, and even if he was busy, he'd take a second to say, you have a good one. I said, well, you too. He said, well, thank you. And he always said thank you back. But that, you have a good one. I think I'm going to maybe, to keep his, I may just start telling people, you have a good one too. I may just do that. Because actually, that's a nice thing to wish. I don't know, whatever a good one is, I hope you have one too today. Anyway, bless that man's soul. He was a good guy. And there should have been more of him. Or, well, let's hope there is. Plenty more to come, I hope. Anyway, you have a good one. Bye, friends.